Call to order. All right. We're here for the regular board meeting of the Reno Sparks Convention Visitors Authority Board of Directors. It is Thursday, August 23rd. Geez, not October, yeah. 9 a.m. At this time, I would ask, Mr. Wowo, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, sir? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice under all. Thank you, Mr. Wowo. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Caroselli? Here. Mr. Dillard, absent. Mr. Lawson?
Here.
Mr. Lucy?
Here.
Mr. Murdoch? Here. Mayor Sheeby, absent. Mr. Sturbins, absent. Mr. Wood? Mr. Wowo? Here. All right, it looks like we have a quorum. This morning we are on to public comment. We do have individuals signed in for public comment. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. Anybody could speak to any item on the agenda or off the agenda if they so please. First I have signed in is Tony Logoteta. Sorry, right up there, Tony, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I've met a number of you, but for those who I haven't met, I'm Tony Logoteta. I'm the Chief Operating Officer out at the Reno Air Races, and just wanted to come out and remind everyone that yesterday was actually 3 weeks from the start of our event, which is not a fact that my staff likes to be reminded of, but I keep telling them. We have a great event. We have, it's our 55th. We have the Patriot Jet team coming out this year, and we also have a World War II demo and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. The racer list was released this week. We're really excited. It's going to be a great year. Ticket sales are picking up and looking ahead of last year, which is wonderful. And we could not do it without you guys. RSCVA is an absolutely indispensable partner. So I just wanted to come and thank you all and just invite you all to come out and see the races this year. So thanks.
Can we have
Thank
some
you,
questions?
Tony. Yeah. Mr. Merck would like to ask you some questions.
Tony, how's the signups this year? How's your ticket sales? Everything going well?
Ticket sales are coming along well. They've actually picked up a lot over the last month and a half, and we are tracking ahead of last year.
Good, that's good news.
Yes,
how about,
absolutely.
who's the main headliner this year?
The headliner is the Patriot Jet team.
Yes.
And then we kind of have a second headliner. Last year we had the Texas Flying Legends out. They did the big World War II demo. And this year we invited the Commemorative Air Force to come out and do the same thing. So they're kind of a 1A, I guess you would say. Yeah.
Good to hear. Thank you.
Absolutely. Awesome. Anyone else?
All right. I don't think so. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Next I have Mr. Jeff Church. Good morning, Mr. Church.
Good morning, everyone. And I did wear my air race tie today, even though it's not air race week yet. It will be before your next meeting. Good morning. My name is Jeff Church. I am a candidate for Washoe County School Board of Trustees. And I think it's very important, the perception of Reno for people visiting here, whether it's education, crime, anything that has to do with Reno all relates to whether the decision is made to come here and hold conventions and meetings here. And that's obviously why education is important. I have a handout for you. It's from renoelections.org. I'm not affiliated with them in any way, but they are putting on various candidate forms. Their website lists various candidates have been invited to submit their bios and opinions. So it's called renoelections.org. I invite you to take a look. I want to have a quote regarding the school district. Now, I know this is the RSCVA, but you are leaders in the community, and I think we're facing a crisis in basically a year from today. And this is a quote from one of the former trustees. I didn't know about the $40 million deficit. I should have. What I can't get my head around is that we got what we wanted, and now we can build new schools, but we haven't any teachers to put in the schools. What good is that? A year from today, we're opening 3 new schools. A $30 million school deficit. Where are we going to get the money to fund the schools? And I hope it's not new taxes. So I don't know the answer to this, but it's a serious crisis we're going to be facing in a year. And let's just suppose that we get the money. Where are we going to get the warm bodies? In this economy that's booming, we can't get enough teachers and bus drivers and cops now. So I'm just trying to put you on notice to help out in the community, to weigh in, that this is a crisis we're going to be facing. and it's less than a year away. And one final thing, I drove here in my little electric car, and I appreciate those casinos such as the Atlantis that have charging stations. So I encourage all the casinos and businesses to put in charging stations and more, because more often than not, those stations are full. It's really good for business, and it's good for the environment. So have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Is there anybody further in the public that would like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to the board. We are on to approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. I have a motion by Mayor Sheeby, second by Mr. Murdoch. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We are on to approval of minutes for the July 26, 2018 Board of Directors regular meeting. Any changes, subsequent changes, or motion to approve? Motion from Mr. Caraselli, second from Mr. Wood. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? All right, we are on to our presentations. Mr. Delone. It should be. In and out. Are you kidding?
Today we're giving you a sort of an 18-month recap of key accomplishments that the team at the RSCVA has identified. You know, I think I've been on the job now fully 20 months, starting in early January of 2017. And as I look back at those months, we've accomplished a great deal. But as I look back and say what's mattered to me personally the most, I think it is assembling a very, very fine team of professionals. You know, I have Jennifer Cunningham as my right-hand person, and Mike Larraguetta running convention sales, and Robert working in finance and facilities, and Art Jimenez in tourism, and Sherry Neal in HR. And together, I would say that they're the finest team of any convention authority of our size in the nation, and I would put all of them collectively up against any major city. We just came back from the American Society of Association Executives meeting in Chicago, and of course you've all seen our new booth, and that is a real milestone now at these large trade shows where we are on the floor trying to attract convention business and competing with all of the cities around the country. And there's a real big buzz about Reno Tahoe. Now cities where they used to at times just ignore us now whisper amongst themselves, well, what's Reno Tahoe doing tonight for their special event? And what's Reno Tahoe's activity in their booth today? And we pick up on that because our friends and colleagues in the industry let us know. And so that gives us a lot of, I think, Michael, you'd agree with me, that gives us a lot of personal pride when we're on the trade show floor that Reno Tahoe's come into its own. I, as the CEO, we primarily focus on four primary areas. None of these are strangers to you. Certainly we're entrusted first and foremost to drive cash room nights to the community. That's done either through direct sales, through convention and event sales, and or visitation and destination awareness through our marketing, social media platforms, and so forth. Our new brand was launched 6 months after I arrived in the summer of 2017, and I think all of you who are long-term residents of the community, you've seen a variety of slogans and a variety of brands over the years, and certainly our brand, the new Reno Tahoe brand, and is a testament to hitting a new high. We've also marketed that brand in Los Angeles and Seattle, which are two not so new markets, but ones that we've been paying closer and closer attention to. And in Los Angeles, we've made some great strides, as well as in San Francisco, and Seattle is starting to warm up. We closed the year at a little over 1,245,000 room nights from those three markets. Direct room night growth, that's really addressing conventions and to some extent special events, but we always focus on conventions, and we this year with Michael's leadership knocked it out of the park. Our goal was 260,000 convention room nights, which is a little over half of what we do annually. We in this marketplace we net out between 500 and 600,000 convention room nights a year, and that does not include any special events. That is pure convention and meetings business, and we were able to as a group exceed our goal to 314,000, fully a 20% increase. I think part of that is due to a new approach of really doubling down on our remote offices. We now have offices, as you know, in 8 cities, and we have 9 salespeople who work out of their homes, and they are strategically placed around the country in Atlanta, Washington, D.C., Denver, San Diego, Sacramento, and Portland, and they've done an excellent job. Our goal is increased to 280,000. We're not going to steal next month's thunder, but we'll have a very good announcement for you in 30 days, according to Mr. Larraguetta from his meeting this morning. So, also, let's take a look at facility efficiency. We'll take a deeper dive on that in a moment, as well as organizational stability. To give you some highlights, obviously we've discussed visitation and destination awareness, our new brand, our social media presence. Nearly 40% of our marketing budget is attributable to social media, and as well as the 6 or 7 social media influencers that we now use to carry our message and carry our brand across the digital landscape. We are also, as you know, opening up China. This was a new bet for us, and we are China-sizing our community to accept and welcome the Chinese visitor. As we've learned, 122 million Chinese hit the roads of the world in 2017. That's expected to grow to 130 million this year, and by 2020, just a couple of years away, over 200 million Chinese travelers will be going around the world, and certainly we want to capture our fair share of that. Again, I think we've already talked about direct room night growth. In just a couple of weeks, in early September, we'll welcome Interbike, a true coup for us to land, the 66th largest trade show held in North America, one of the top 100 shows, bringing $105 million in economic impact to the community over 5 years, and 107,000 room nights. And they are excited for their first experience here, and they'll also be up in North Star. Facility efficiency. You all know that we are under a complete remodel of the Reno Sparks Convention Center. The carpet's finished, the lighting is underway. We've been very, very careful on how we allocate our resources. I think my favorite story is one of our architectural consultants when posed with the project of relighting the exhibit hall, said, well, this project will cost between $4 and $5 million. We didn't particularly like that number, so I think through Trent LaFerrier, who's our building engineer and special projects manager, we went back and said, how can we drive the cost of this down? So what that architect proposed, that $4 to $5 million expense, has been driven down to just over 500,000, an enormous savings. And when it's completed in the end of November, all of our large trade show halls totaling 382,000 feet will have 512 new LED fixtures, which will consume 40% less power and provide 35% brighter, whiter light. And that's the way we approach all of the projects, including our, not to talk about bathrooms today, but the bathrooms haven't been touched there in 25 years. And so now we're remodeling those, and the carpet. We just had an event there yesterday, with 400 people from the community coming. Every one of them, as they walked in the door, said, "Oh, the building looks great." Part of our focus on facility efficiency was to engage SMG. A number of firms were interested in working with Reno. SMG was selected, and they've been on the job now about 90 days. And even though we think we provide good food and beverage and good service, we want to take that to great food and beverage and great service. And we have great expectations from SMG as they manage our facilities at the Convention Center, Bowling Stadium, Reno Event Center, and of course our Livestock Events Center. We're also divesting from Wild Creek. We assume that certainly by December that transaction will have taken place, and Duncan Golf, who is now managing the center or the golf course, is doing an excellent job there for Washoe County. Organizational stability. I've been a resident of Reno, Nevada since February 1987, when I first moved here. At that time, we had about 150,000 inhabitants. And over the decades working in the resorts here, and certainly for a long period of time at Silver Legacy, we saw the RSCVA at times have tumultuous stability. And I'm proud to say, due to the leadership of our department heads, who I've mentioned earlier, that we have fixed that problem. That you can be very, very proud of the staff, our 53 employees. Each and every one of them are engaged in our business. They know what their job is. They have been selected because they're well-versed, and some might say even experts in their field, and you should be, as a board and certainly others from the community, very, very proud of them. We operate completely on a level of trust and transparency and integrity and honesty, not only to our board of directors, but to our staff and the stakeholders and the community at large. There is absolutely no other way to manage a business like ours, and that is the mantra we strive for. Any questions?
Any questions from the board at this time? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. DeLon. All right. So we are on to the part of the presentation was also for the scorecard. It was staff updates. So Ms. Cunningham.
I'd like to draw your attention to the scorecard part. Go to the second page, and I'm going to focus on year-to-date because it is the final year-end numbers. Just to highlight a few things, taxable revenue up 12% year over year. So that's quite a bit to be proud of. ADR ended at $104.40, which our target was $99.63, so that was an 8.4% increase. And goes without saying, I think there's still some ability to move that 104 up. For the hoteliers, RevPAR is at $50, so that keeps inching up. That was a nice increase this year at a 13.4%. So all in all, it was a fantastic year for the organization and the community in terms of room tax collections. Before I turn it over to Mike, I'd be remiss in not acknowledging, I think, just forgot to acknowledge Esther, our Director of Marketing, who's
Sorry, Esther.
very involved in the branding of the organization, so, in the community.
Thanks, Jennifer. Just a real quick update as it relates to the month of June. Despite us not hitting the mark in terms of our room goal for month of June, we did produce 17,061 room nights. We had a high goal for the month of June, and as I reported at the prior month's meeting, we had a tremendous month prior. If you balance May and June, we did, on an average, hit our goal for those 2 months. And as Phil mentioned, we did close out the year exceeding the goal at 314 on a goal of 260. For the month of June, the convention produced room nights was up, which is a good sign, at 15,962, and sports was 1,099. For the first month of the fiscal year of 2018 and 19, we had an aggressive goal for July, which July is generally a tough month in terms of convention sales, leads and room nights. We fell a little short of the goal of 15,406. I'm sorry, production number of 15,406 against a goal of 21,524. That being said, August is looking very strong. We feel that if everything turns by the end of the month, the next week and a half, that we will exceed the goal for August, which will also make up the deficit that we experienced in July, so we'll be on pace for the first 60 days of the fiscal year. The team has several programs that we're working on. We have 25 plus groups that all exceed 2,000 plus room nights per group that represent over 200,000 room nights, and are all looking at years in terms of actual consumption dates between 2019 and 2023. As Phil mentioned, we just did return from ASAE. It was a very successful show. At our event, we had over 78 representatives of the association market segment participate in our event, which may not seem a big number in the general scheme of things, but when you compare going against other CVBs and major flags that are holding events on that Sunday night, it's a very strong number, and more importantly, the quality of the attendees was very strong as well. The team is now headed to Connect in Salt Lake, where we have 8 representatives. It's appointment based, and for 3 days they will be meeting with representatives from the different tracks of association, corporate, SMERF, specialty, sports, and trade show. So we have everything covered from that standpoint. We'll be doing an event at Connect in Salt Lake as well, with a dinner with clients. One other thing I wanted to point out is that you'll notice for the month of June that in terms of the amount of leads, and the room nights are represented by those leads, that we surpassed the goal quite a bit. And I just wanted to speak to that quickly, is that one, yes, we did see an increase in the leads, but the majority of the increase on the room nights was due to the size of the room nights represented by those individual leads. The 90,000 plus room nights that were represented in those leads, I think it's fair to mention that a third of those were represented by the two new markets that we opened in Atlanta and Chicago. So they're starting to establish some traction and starting to see the results. Again, we were in Chicago, which is a new market for us, where we have Maddie Metcalf, new to the team since February, and it was very clear just through the booth activity in the event that she's very well respected in that market, and we will soon see the results of her efforts. So thank you.
Okay.
Art?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. So for June reported room nights for tourism sales, we had 73,262 room nights reported, and that was an increase of 8,200 room nights from last June. We were also at 139% to goal of 52,526 room nights. For the fiscal year ending fiscal year 18, we ended up at 814,592 room nights versus 653,974 room nights last year. It's an increase of 160,618 room nights. Additionally, the strategic plan goal for the fiscal year that just ended was 679,000 room nights. We exceeded that by 134,993 room nights, again by reaching 814,592 reported tourism room nights. As we mentioned last month, at last month's board meeting, our goal for next year in this category will be 863,468 room nights. So we're tracking better, and we're reporting good numbers in this sector. On the China front, we've been selected by Brand USA to be a part of a mega fam coming in from China. They'll be bringing in 50 tour operators, and they will disperse those 50 tour operators amongst 4 itineraries. and Reno, Lake Tahoe was one of those, has been selected. So that's from the hard work from the team of working with Brand USA, and that's a pretty big coup for us. Secondly, we have been approached by China National Travel Magazine to run a complimentary ad in China in October. And we've got, I can't pronounce this, but Jay Zing, CTIS, looking for some group business in October of this year, so short term. And on the domestic front, we do have a sales mission plan September 17th through 19th in Seattle and Portland, and we're working very close with Sun Country on stimulating some sales, for the flight, the inaugural flight coming in November. So we're busy. Thank you.
Fantastic.
I wanted to acknowledge Mayor Sheevy for she did an opening presentation at the Nevada Economic Forum the other day and showed our video, and in a day and a half, I've already gotten 4 emails from people in the audience wanting to get that video because they felt it really portrayed our destination well. So thank you for showing that.
Largely all because of you, so thank you.
You win an award?
We won an award.
Yes,
Yes.
we won another award.
Now we win so many, we just go, we won another one.
No, I didn't want to bore you with
We're gonna
it.
have to get a line item in the budget for another display case. Ms. Isaac, since would you like to add anything this morning?
No, I'm just really thrilled at the response we're getting from the community and outside the area. Jennifer and I went to SO last week, and we got some acknowledgments from that at a history conference for PMOs. Yeah, definitely the chapters there now.
Great, thank you, Ms. Isaac. Mr. Chisel.
Just a couple quick items. If you look at the,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chisel. Mr. Murdoch. Mike.
Quick thought. You guys have done a fantastic job. I just want to go back to Sun Country because we took a mission there about almost more than that, about 90 days ago. And the gentleman that runs Sun Country is an ex-Alaska airline. He believes in Reno. So we have an opportunity right here. And this is a big time. They're testing a plane twice a week in here because they want to put planes in here and actually mimic a mini Reno Air. That is the potential of Sun Country. And I thank you guys for taking this on. And I know this is, the airport was helpful in getting us the meetings and getting us going, but you guys are gonna have to carry the water to advertise to get people to use this Portland, because it's a test for this market. If it works, Sun Country flies jets. This isn't an older jet. This is a 737, probably a 700. So finally jet service again in the Pacific Northwest. So I just want to thank you and say we got to get going on this because it's a tester. So I appreciate everything you're doing right now.
Thank you, Mr. Murdoch.
Thank you.
Mr. Chisel.
again, back to the snapshot, for June, you will see the operating margin for the facilities was down pretty much, but a lot of that was due to the transition as the payouts of the leave balances and other things occurred for the facilities as we transitioned to SMG. Also, our auditors, Ide Bailey, the independent auditors, are in the facility right now auditing our books for fiscal year 2018, and you should have received a letter in regards to their scope of work. And I would be remiss to not point out that we also got an award this weekend for coming in first in the Dragon Boat races at the Sparks Marina. Yeah, so that was a real award of.
All right. Well, that all sounds great, fantastic. Thank you for the report on the scorecard and update for the last fiscal year. Is there any questions from the board at this time for staff? Seeing none, all right. This is just an information item, so we will move on to item E2. This is the President and CEO review and evaluation for fiscal year 2017 and 2018. And so with that, Ms. Rizak, I will let you take us into this item.
Good morning. For this agenda item, the Personnel Committee met on August 16 of 2018 and conducted the initial review of Mr. DeLone for an 18-month period. The The committee spent a lot of time talking about a bunch of different things, but initially noted that this was for an 18-month period where he had not received any increase to salary nor bonus during that time frame based upon his hiring. The committee then discussed the background related to what that recruitment and hiring and the ultimate hiring of Mr. DeLone. The chairman of that committee, Mr. Caraselli, pointed out that initially, based upon information that this board had received from the headhunter hired to help recruit for the position, the board was initially looking at a base salary of $350,000 to $550,000 with the ability of a bonus incentive up to 20% of that base salary. But through that recruitment and negotiation process, the board determined that a lower salary coupled with a higher potential bonus eligibility would create the proper incentive for our CEO. The board then approved at that time a lower salary of $250,000 with the opportunity to earn a bonus incentive of up to 40% of that base salary. From there, the Personnel Committee looked at the overall performance from a merit perspective of Mr. DeLone over, again, primarily the fiscal year, but noting that it was an 18-month time frame. As part of that review, our policy has us go through a lot of steps to conduct that review. It starts with a self-evaluation, which is part of your packet, from Mr. DeLone. The next portion of that is a 360 review, because we feel that it's very important to know those people who work for Mr. DeLone and how they feel. So we also received a staff review from executive staff, which again, those survey results are in your packet. The committee noted that that staff review was universally positive, okay? With almost every question being answered with a strongly agree in the positive direction. From there, we also have this board conduct a survey review, a written review of the CEO. Those results are also in your packet, and again, that was universally positive. There are also comments as part of that written evaluation. After noting all of those positive comments, the board talked about their personal feelings, or the committee, excuse me, talked about their personal feelings about the overall performance, and then moved the discussion, they talked about the fact that they felt the RSCVA is now on track and has a strategic vision. Then they moved the discussion on to what the merit increase should be with respect to Mr. DeLone's base salary. Again, noting that it was over an 18-month period of which he had not received any salary increase. They also discussed what other RSCVA staff and executive staff had received. Those employees on an annual basis had received between 3% and 9% of a merit and cost of living increase. With those discussions, the committee recommended a 10% merit and cost of living increase to the base salary for Mr. DeLone, because they felt that would align the increase would align with what had been provided to other staff members over a 12-month period. And so that is the merit part. Would you like me to discuss the next agenda item? Or
yeah, we can take them both, and I think there's no reason why we can't take them both together, so let's open both items at this time, and we'll take them both at the same time.
So I will now report on what the discussions for the incentive bonus. The RSCVA board had approved the fiscal year 2017 CEO goals, and during that time frame, that personnel committee as well as this board had done a lot of work to make it so that if the achievement of the goal was done or achieved, if the goal was achieved, a bonus would be awarded. That we set very strict numeric goals with respect to what our expectations were as a board, what your expectations were as a board. If they were met, then it would almost be a math problem. All of the goals were primarily set in that numeric base. There was only one goal under the leadership section that was more of a subjective nature. That goal was number 4, and it was whether or not he built a strong, solid executive management team. If you will recall, as board members, that was one of the questions in your evaluation survey, because we wanted to see where the board was at with that. And that was determined that the board agreed that a solid executive management team had been built. 62.5% of the board responded strongly agree, and 37.5% of the board responded agreed with that statement. As a result of that, the committee looked at that and said that they felt that the CEO had achieved that goal. With making a determination that that goal was achieved, the committee then determined that 100% of the CEO goals for fiscal year 18-19 had been achieved, and thus recommended an award of the entire bonus pool potential of 40% of the base salary, or $100,000. I think I might have misspoke. It was fiscal year 17-18 in case I said 18-19.
All right, fantastic. All right, this is an action item and obviously up for discussion by the board. I do not have any public comment. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak on this item at this time? All right, seeing no public comment, I'm going to turn it over. Mr. Caroselli, you were the chair of the Personnel Committee. Your comments were obviously written in some of the responses that the letter that we received in our packet. Is there anything you would like to add at this time?
Well, I think that Molly summed it up pretty well, and I think all the members of that committee were impressed by the results and what he had accomplished, and I think we all felt strongly about the salary increase and the bonus, 100% bonus being paid, and I think other than that, that's about it.
Great, thanks. Mr. Lawson.
I think the part of it that made it real easy for me is these are not subjective goals. They're tangible, easy to read, easy to measure. So it was a pretty simple decision in my mind to make this happen. And I'm proud to make that recommendation that he gets the 100% of his bonus capability.
Great. Mr. Murdoch.
You know, it was, again, and I think you summed it up, the one that was most of it was mathematical, and that speaks volumes to me, because been through a lot of personnel through my other committees, and this was well done and well organized. And I think what's important is the goals changed, and we discussed it. We had all of our different walks of the community on this board, so we talked about it, and we got deep enough that I felt like the decision we came up with was the right thing. It was right. This team is way better. We're seeing results, and what else is there to say? So, thank you.
Mr. Wowo. Yeah, a couple more comments.
Well, I just want to make a point that during that meeting, I brought up the past because history is relevant in making decisions in the present, and that's why I brought up the point that we had been heading in the rock star direction with quite large salaries that we were considering, from 350 to 550, et cetera, et cetera. So I wanted to make what we're doing today, I think it helped put what we're recommending today in better perspective relative to where we could have gone had we continued down that road, probably with less results.
Right. You know, and I'd like to make this, you know, and I think that's a really pertinent point, Mr. Caroselli, is that we were walking down that direction to fill the role with very high costly individuals, and Mr. Lone took on the initiative to take this role and really help us turn around the ship at of what I would consider a very moderate compensation. And for me, what it really is that there is the history, but I go back and from when I evaluate individuals, it's really who they oversee and who they continue to manage. And I go back and look at the staff evaluations, the 360 staff evaluations of Mr. DeLone, and some of the comments that were written in here, you know, that he's an extremely professional and driven leader who is also very approachable and considerate to his employees. It's a difficult balance to achieve, but Mr. DeLone has achieved that. I mean, I think those kind of comments share volumes to Mr. DeLone's dedication to the RSCVA and his leadership here at this. And it is without the staff and the direction of the individuals that you oversee that we wouldn't be here today. And I think that is a true testament to your accomplishments over the last 18 months. So, in my opinion, to mimic what Mr. Lawson said, a lot of these were tangible, but the subjective part, question number 4 about can you build a great executive team, you have. And I believe it's not just your executive team, but if you talk to any employee within the RSCVA, they're very happy and excited with the process and where we've come. So, yes, I'm happy with it, the way the review turned out. Any other further comments? Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor.
I just wanted to say, Mrs., I like that.
Miss
Instead of
Mayor.
Madam, it sounds much younger. You know, it's really been interesting to kind of watch where we've been. I think I've been on this board. How long have we been here? 5 years?
5
No,
years.
I think
4
I've been
years.
here
Yeah,
5
4
years.
years, 5 years.
But I'll never forget my very first board meeting, and we unveiled an ad. I don't even know how to explain that ad. I don't.
Let's not.
I pulled it up on my phone the other day because I just was like in awe. But, and I will tell you this board has really changed dramatically in a lot of ways. And though I may not have always liked some of the decisions or some of the direction, I think it's productive conversation. But really, I want to say thank you to this board because it's so much more cohesive. When I first started, that wasn't the case, and I think this board really cares and works well together, and that has made all the difference in the world. And I'm sorry Mr. Farahi is not here to see that because he's all about results. Isn't that what, I mean, that's all, when I hear Farahi, it's results. And so I think he would be proud of what we've accomplished. And you know, I want to really commend Jennifer because she went through a lot of those times with us, the ups and downs, and you were really solid for all of us. And the one thing I want to point out is I think we made a lot of right moves at the right times. I mean, that's one thing that we've really done well, and we have to continue to stay really diligent on what the future looks like, because what goes up must come down, right? So we just have to focus on that. And I want to say thank you to Phil DeLone and your team. I mean, that's one of the biggest assets that leaders have is to develop a great team, and that you've really done. I mean, to look at the dynamic now has really been what a difference a day makes. And so, you also allow them to flourish, and you don't micromanage them, and they all enjoy working for you, and that really is a big sign that you're doing something very right. So thank you so much.
All right. Seeing any further comments at this time? Looking for a motion. We're going to so we're going to take this in two different sections because there are two different items. So we're going to take the merit increase first. So this would be for the 10% merit increase from the board. So looking for a motion.
Yep. Mr. Chair, at this time I'd like to make a motion for the 10% merit increase for Mr. DeLone.
All right. I have a motion from Mr. Wowo, second from Mr. Murdoch. Uh-oh, pulling over.
I just want to clarify at the board level, when we do a merit increase, we usually do that to the beginning of fiscal year. So I want to confirm that the motion is to increase the base salary by 10% effective July 1, 2018.
All right. Motioner,
We'll add that in.
Motioner amends, seconder agrees. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. All right, we are on to the bonus, which would be item E3, which is also open at this time. This would be a bonus for an additional $100,000 to the Mr. DeLone. Mr. Caroselli.
I just want to make a comment that Erica from On Strategy was at the meeting, and you know, On Strategy certainly is the company that has helped direct us to get to the right place with our strategic plan, and she was her On Strategy was responsible for setting up the structure for the bonus program, and I think it was approved by the board, but it's a great structure now, and it leaves no doubt in where to go. You either make it or you don't based on the numbers. So I want to thank her and On Strategy for put us in that position to be able to make decisions rather quickly based on numbers.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you for those comments. All right, at this time, looking for a motion.
Make a motion to give Mr. DeLone a $100,000 bonus. Wow, that's a big number. Based on the findings of the that new boat's coming. Based on the findings that we in the Personnel Committee found in favor of.
I have a motion from Mr. Lawson. Do I have a second from Mr. Wowo? All right, any further discussion at this time? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Well, congratulations, Mr. Delano. Do you have any comments you'd like to make at this time, sir?
Yes, obviously, thank you, and thank you for the recognition. I also would mirror Mayor Sheevy's comments that the board is an integral part of this whole process. No one person can do and move the destination forward, and this board, you know, with the mixture of politicians and the business people at large, has been extremely effective. In previous jobs, I've worked with ineffective boards, and that's extremely painful for staff. But here in Reno and Sparks and Washoe County, this board has been so helpful to us as a collective team of staff members, and thank you for the direction, and then also thank you for letting us do our jobs and being effective, and we really appreciate that. Great deal.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dillon. We have great confidence in your leadership, and evidently, as you see here today, all of us believe the same for you, and it's without your leadership and our confidence in you, we wouldn't be where we are today, so thank you for that. All right, we are going to move on. We're on to board member comments regarding future items for future agendas. Mr. Murdoch.
I'm your spotter.
Microphone.
I want to thank Nat for heading up the committee that made these decisions, and I know John would be proud of you, Nat, because what I really wanted to say was, I know, because I could just see him sitting over there going, results.
Yeah.
And but to that point, Nat, thank you, because you're a good steersman, and we did well with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Caroselli. And thank you for all the personnel committee, the time that you guys have put into doing that. So fantastic. All right. Seeing no further comments from the board, we are on to our final public comment. Is there anybody in the public that wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we are adjourned. Thank you.